In this module, you will learn about importance of entrepreneurs in problem solving, how innovations lead to entrepreneurial ventures. Let us first understand who is an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is an individual who undertakes risks. We often call entrepreneurs as problem solvers. Let us now look at the reason behind this. Entrepreneurs tend to take actions in order to solve problems for others. Therefore, they are called problem solvers. As a problem is being solved, a new value is generated. An entrepreneur takes risks and often solves problems concerned with customers or market, which in turn creates a value addition to the business. This acts as a key for increasing the profitability of the enterprise. Larger the range of problems an entrepreneur solves, larger is the scope for profitability in the business. Solving problems to meet the needs and wants of people. The success and survival of entrepreneurial ventures depends on their attitude towards solving the problems of their customers. They also need to understand the customer requirements and accordingly manufacture the product. Let us look at an example of Kellogg. In 1894, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg was a superintendent of well-known hospital and health spa situated in Battle Creek, Michigan. Will Keith Kellogg, Kellogg's younger brother, was the business manager of the firm. The hospital focused to create healthy living practices among its patients. In order to implement this practice and keep their patients on diet, they eliminated caffeine, meat, alcohol, and tobacco. They also researched and introduced variety of hygienic and nutritional food made up of grains. It also included a coffee substitute and a type of granola, which they forced through rollers and rolled into long sheets of dough. One fine day, the men were called away while they were in the process of cooking wheat. However, when they returned later, the wheat had become stale. The men finally decided to use the same tempered grain through the rollers. Surprisingly, they observed that each wheat berry was flattened and came out as a thin flake, while they expected the grain to come out in long sheets of dough. The siblings baked the flakes and were pleased with their new creation. Finally, they realized that they have invented a new delicious cereal. However, they were unaware of the fact that they had accidentally paved a way for the discovery of whole industry by itself. They then started their own cereal business. Today, Kellogg's Cornflakes is a very popular product sold in the market. Kellogg's Cornflakes was not available for the general public until 1906. Next is innovations leading to entrepreneurial ventures. An entrepreneur is referred to as an individual who habitually creates and innovates to build something of recognized value around perceived opportunities. The most distinguishing feature of an entrepreneur is creativity and innovation. Because of this, he or she can disrupt the markets as well as challenge the large established businesses. Creativity is a continuous activity. It involves exploring new ways of doing things. It does not consider more about the difficulties faced at times and whether the desired resources are available or not. However, creativity includes the ability to innovate, to take an idea and to make the idea work in practice. Once the project is completed, an entrepreneur looks out for another mountain to climb. The reason behind this is that innovation and creativity is a habitual and continuous process for him or her, which an entrepreneur has to keep on doing. Some of the innovations that led to successful ventures are penicillin, potato chips, pacemaker, microwave ovens, inkjet printers, X-rays. Let us look into these innovations in detail. Penicillin. Penicillin was innovated by the scientist Sir Alexander Fleming, a popular scientist, and it led to a successful business venture. He was trying to innovate a wonder drug that could cure all the diseases. One day, he threw all his experiments. Later, he found that a mold contained in a contaminated petri dish was dissolving all the bacteria in its surroundings. He then decided to grow the mold by itself and found that it has a highly efficient antibiotic. He named it as penicillin. The sale of penicillin brought about successful business ventures. Potato chips. It was invented by George Crumb, a chef at the Carrie Moon Lake House in Saratoga Springs. At its inception, George Crumb was just trying to prepare a plate of fried potato. One fine day, a customer sent back his plate of potatoes a number of times. He demanded for potatoes to be more fried and thinner. Crumb sliced the potatoes insanely thin while losing his temper and fried them until they were as hard as a rock. Crumb was surprised that the customer loved them and demanded more. This is how potato chips came into limelight. Pacemaker. Pacemaker was invented by an electrical engineer, John Hobbs. He was doing research on hypothermia. His experiments were focused on restoring the body temperature using radio frequency. When he was conducting the experiments, he discovered that if a heart stops beating due to cooling, it could be started again by artificial stimulation. The idea led him to innovate the pacemaker. Microwave ovens. Microwave oven was invented by Percy Spencer, an engineer. He was associated with the Raytheon Corporation. Spencer was working on a radar-related research project with a new vacuum tube. During the course of his project, he observed that the candy bar in his pocket began to melt during his experiments. Then he placed popcorn into the machine and noticed that the corn started to pop. Finally, he realized that he had invented a revolutionary device. Inkjet printers. Inkjet printer was invented by a Canon engineer. He observed that after resting a hot iron on his pen accidentally, ink was ejected from the pen point after few moments. This principle paved a way for the creation of the inkjet printers which we use today. X-rays. It was invented by Wilhelm Röntgen, a physicist. Röntgen was keen to know the properties of cathode ray tubes. He observed that when light passed through tubes, the sheets of fluorescent paper in his lab were illuminated even though his machine had an opaque cover. To conclude, these examples teach us the fact that various inventions that people across the world have tried, failed, and succeeded sometimes by mistake. We must note that the utility for the invention will be developed later in life. Thus, no inventions will give us immediate results, but we must keep experimenting. In this module, you have learned entrepreneurs tend to take actions in order to solve problems for others. Therefore, they are called problem solvers. The success and survival of entrepreneurial ventures depends on their attitude towards solving the problems of their customers. An entrepreneur is referred to as an individual who habitually creates and innovates to build something of recognized value around perceived opportunities. The most distinguishing feature of an entrepreneur is creativity and innovation. Creativity is a continuous activity. It involves exploring new ways of doing things. It does not consider more about the difficulties faced at times and whether the desired resources are available or not. Some of the innovations that led to successful ventures are Penicillin, potato chips, Pacemaker, microwave ovens, Inkjet Printers, X-rays.